Hello, so excited to finally do this reading for you. I've been looking forward to doing this reading. And I want to first, before we start, just let you know what an honor it is. Thank you for trusting me and for allowing me to translate for you the messages that your toes are sharing with you. So, in toe reading, the right foot represents the outside world, the way that we interact, the way that we are received and experienced by the outside world, and the way that we experience the outside world. And then the left foot is all about your internal self. So, the left foot is internal, your connection with source, the way that you speak to yourself, how you self care, all of those things internally. And then each one of the toes has a certain energy. The big toes are spirit path on the left foot and life path on the right foot. And then the second toes are both communication and expression. Same with the third toes, they're the same. They are the action toes. The fourth toes are your relationship toes, and the fifth toes are your trust and prosperity toes. And so I'm going to translate the messages that each one of your toes is sharing with you. And we're going to start with the right foot. So the first thing that I want to talk about is we're just going to go in order. And let me just breathe into this. Okay, before we started, I drew a card for you, and it is from Chris Ann's Sacred Creators deck. And these are kind of fun cards. They're pretty unique cards. And you got the Overthinking Can Spoil the Magic card. And so in the tarot, this would be like the Fool card. It's the zero, number 0. So I'm just going to read from the guidebook here. The essential meaning is about finding inspiration and new beginnings, setting out on your own path, following your intuition, and trusting in the universe, the courage to begin new projects, having a positive mindset, and recognizing serendipity and opportunity. And I feel like this is a confirmation card in many ways for you, like you're on the right path. If you are wondering if you are on the right path, you are on the right path. And when we move to talking about your toes, I'm going to show you a couple of places where perhaps you're a little bit off path, and that by just adjusting a little bit, you are going to see massive shifts and growth in your life and in your business. So in these Astro Toe readings, the stars, I'm going to click ahead to the next slide. This star map of where the way that the sky was when you were born is the map, okay? And then your toes tell you where you are on the map. It's your starting point. It's where you've been and where you are now. And so just like if I wanted to go visit you, if I didn't know where I was starting from, it wouldn't really matter what direction I went. I have a very, very small chance of getting there. So our toes help tell us where we are. And then the cards give us our next directions on the map. So you are on the right path. The self-care message for this is naively jumping into something new with both feet. Analysis paralysis and fear of making the wrong decision. Movement and progress can be blocked by your own doubts, not trusting your gut, worrying about outcomes before you begin, blocking or disregarding your intuition, obsessive planning and perfectionism, and need to learn new skills along the way. So again, I do feel like this is very much a card of confirmation, and just based on the conversations that we've had, these shadows can and do show up. One of the things that I would invite you to do, and we'll talk about this later on in the reading, but that is you want to obviously be educated and use caution before jumping in with both feet. You don't want to do it naively. However, I feel like you might get enthusiastic and want to jump into something, but that you have good boundaries at this point in your life, relatively good boundaries about how that looks, how the jumping in looks, and that you can self-care to say, oh, you know what? I got enthusiastic. In fact, we had a conversation like that last week. I totally relate to that. Okay, so this is like the trust card, the go card, the finding the courage to step out card. It's a reminder to take action when you are feeling inspired by a big idea and to use the delicious energy of new beginnings to sustain your motion as you move into the sacred flow of making it happen. It's time to allow magical beginnings to take root. There is such a thing as blocking your own magic by overthinking, and sometimes trusting in the unknown is exactly what needs to be done. Jump in with both feet, not naively, but jump in and don't hold back. Bravely, passionately. When you know, you just know. Sometimes you can feel the rightness of an opportunity as it blossoms in front of you. Embrace this divine timing and the authenticity of imperfection and leap towards your destiny. As you do, expect to up-level your skills in order to integrate these new lessons and new experiences because, sweet soul, this is where you learn to fly. So some reflection questions. What new experiences are intriguing to you right now? How could you benefit from a little more spontaneity? What's the worst thing that could happen if you just ran with it? And what's the best thing? So lean into that just a little bit and realize you don't need to have all your ducks in a row. All you need is a duck. All right. Now stepping into the toes. All right. So I want to talk about this first toe first, the right big toe. This is your life path toe. And so when we look at this, it does come up nice and straight here from the base of the foot. And then it starts to lean. It's almost like this toe is leaning just a little bit towards the little toe. This is towards the future. So you see that the toe itself leans toward the little toe, which is towards the future. But this toenail turns toward the center line, which is toward the past. So a little bit of confusion in there, a little bit of dissonance in your mind about looking forward. What are the things you're looking forward to? What are the projects, people, and experiences that you're looking forward to, that you have hope in? And where are you looking to the past and thinking, oh, I wonder if this can happen for me? Well, this hasn't happened in the past, so I wonder if it can happen now. So just being aware of some of those thought patterns that are literally pulling you in two different directions, future and past, and practice staying grounded. In your chart over here, with Saturn here in your third house, and it has some strong hard aspects on it with this this square, and then you've got these quintiles here. So, but this hard aspect of the square, just be aware of your lungs. Make sure you're taking deep breaths. Make sure you're caring for your lungs, breathing fresh air and breathing in the full lungs, not getting stuck in the upper breath up here. I'm just talking about this. Whenever I have an energetic release that's a yawn or a sneeze, or sometimes I have tears, that's an energetic release that is confirming the truth of what I am channeling for you right now. Take care of your lungs and get grounded through that breath. The breath can become a trellising force for you. Before you make a big decision, or if you are wondering if it's the right decision or getting stuck in that overthinking, just stopping and taking a breath. Again, with Saturn in that third house, the third house rules the breath. And with Saturn there, that can both be watch out for challenges with the lungs. It can also be Saturn is like a trellis. And if you don't have that trellis, a climbing flower just gets spread out all over the place. Whereas if it's on the trellis, it gives it that structure. So it gets it off the ground. And so that breath, in fact, I would recommend setting a little timer for yourself for 1 hour. And every hour, just take that moment to stop and take a breath and really fill your whole body. When we talk together, we're going to talk about the essence breath and how important that is. And that's especially important for you so you don't get pulled in directions. When you ground and when you get present, you're going to start to notice that this toe is going to become more upright, more straight, and not lean over here. Because if you look, this toe trends this way, and then that toe follows. And then we've got your action toe here, which we're going to talk about in just a minute here. And then I would take the tip of this toe and I would gently twist this top part of your toe so that it is going to lie more straight and more flat instead of turning towards that center line. You're going to just gently twist the top of that toe. And then take the supporting over here on this side of the toe and gently push out here. This is your path of leadership. So you've got this space down here between these two toes. This is an indicator of leadership. And in your work, you want to be a leader, and that is going to open this up for you. So by gently twisting, and we never want to force the energy, it's just a gentle invitation. If this is your big toe and it's pointing this way, you're just going to get the tips of your fingers and you're just going to go like this. And you're just going to ask your toe, what would life be like if I stayed present? I am present now. I know what being present is where the power is. And then holding right here, but then gently pushing. So if I was holding here and then gently pushing out on this side, I would do it with both hands. So I'm holding here and then gently pushing and even coming up the side of the toe. And again, some similar questions. What would life be like if I stepped fully into my leadership? I am present now. It is from a place of presence that I lead in an empowering way. These would be invitations to your toes, and these toes are going to change pretty quickly. So if you were to just include this as part of your daily practice, you would notice a quick shift. And I always like to tell people, this is not about changing your toes. It's about releasing energy that's gotten blocked in your toes and having the toes help shift the energy in your body in this embodied way, in this physical way. So getting grounded, when you do your grounding practice, grounding all the way through your body, down your legs, ankles, feet, and toes, and grounding all the way out into your toes. And so what this tells me, the message from your toe is you're on path, but you've got things that are pulling you into the future and having you look to the past. And this may be very well why the overthinking card has come up. Additionally, you have your Mercury in Gemini here. So Mercury rules Gemini, and one of the shadow sides of Mercury in Gemini is overthinking, analysis by paralysis. So stop overthinking. Okay, when you become aware of that, just stop and use that breath to be your guide, your trellis, if you will. And you're going to just see things open up for you. All right, let's move on to the big toe of the left foot, which is the spirit path toe. Now, we've got a little bit of some similar action going on here, where the top of the toe is leaning over here towards the future. This nail, however, doesn't turn nearly so much to the center line. And again, this is just for context. There's never comparison. It's It's just for context. And so exactly the same thing for this toe, where you're going to gently twist the top of this nail just so that it's a little bit more straight and open up this space here. Now, instead of the big toe closing off this space, it is a little bit, mostly just here in the top part of the toe. It's really about this second toe coming into this first toe. So we'll talk about that in a minute. This is your channel of intuition. So imagine if this toe is tracking more straight up this way, and this toe also was tracking up just a little bit more straight here, that would open up that channel of intuition to an even greater degree. I know you're already super intuitive. Imagine just opening this up. What an inspired and intuitive leader you would be for that. So this, again, you could use a little bit more grounding in this toe. However, your spirit path is kind of your guiding light. Your life path works in with your spirit path. Your spirit path is what is guiding you. And so let's just invite this energy to move just a little bit more straight and to open up this channel of intuition. So again, rubbing just gently while you stabilize here, rubbing up this toe just very gently, and just, I am intuitive. I open up myself to greater and deeper intuition. I am on the right path. I am grounded in my spirit. And then, of course, whatever other affirmations come to you. And here's another yawn. Again, those physical releasing of energy on my part, because I am tuned into your energy, confirms what I'm sharing with you and the messages that the toes are sharing. Okay, so life path and spirit path, very similar in what you're going to do here to open up this channel of leadership, the channel of intuition, and to get grounded and to get out of overthinking. All right, these toes here also can indicate that overthinking. These are the communication and expression toes. This on your right foot is the way that you communicate to the outside world. And this toe here on your left foot is your internal communication and also expression. So I think looking at this toe, some of this essence branding work that we're going to do together is going to be so beneficial for you. This embodiment of your brand. I love that the nails are nice big nails. You've got nice long nail beds. So a lot of deep connection here. When we look at your chart, really leaning into, and I know that I can speak some of this language to you, leaning into this Taurus rising, this groundedness, your Capricorn mid-heaven little entrepreneur you, this earth energy, and getting very leaning into that for some grounding. Because with your Cancer, Sun, and Moon, you could get very lost in your feelings, lost in your emotions. The blessing of having Saturn here next to those planets, well, it can be a blessing and a curse. Saturn does not love to be in Cancer. Saturn is very practical. Saturn is very earthy, whereas Cancer is water. Water washes away earth. Water erodes earth. And water, without having a structure, spreads out all over the place. All right. So, but the blessing of having Saturn there is that you have right built into your chart this ability to create the container. And interestingly, those are words I've heard you say quite a bit, creating the container. That is very important for you, is to create the container. And so what do these containers look like for you? Being as specific as possible about what the containers look like for you. And then also realizing that those containers can change how they look. And if there's not the flexibility in containing how the containers look, the water's going to overflow out of it. Yes. The other thing is you've got your south node here at 0 degrees of Gemini. Your south node, I like to think of it like a purse. So, and it's even kind of shaped a little bit like a purse. In that purse, you can pull stuff out of your purse, like get everything out if you're switching purses. But in the bottom of that purse, there's always some crumbs, some bits of paper, a paper clip, maybe a few coins, some dust. Like it's kind of the collection of the old stuff. And that's what the South Node is. The South Node is where we've been and what we're bringing into this life. Just like if you switched purses, unless you emptied it out real good, you would in your other purse still have little bits from past lives. All right. So overthinking, especially where it's at 0 degrees Gemini, so it had just moved. Keep in mind that the nodes are in their location for an entire 18 months. So it had been through Cancer, been through Gemini, and just was about to enter into Taurus. So right there, it had spent all this time in Gemini. So just being aware that you came to this life with a propensity, with a past life history of overthinking. And the South Node can also indicate some karma, some loose ends to tie up, especially there where it's 0 degrees Gemini. So just realize that this overthinking is a pattern that it is time for you to transcend in this lifetime. So these toes also indicate overthinking, thinking, getting stuck in overthinking, and then maybe going a different direction here. Can you see how that toe is really telling you that? There's some blocked energy down here in the bottom of this toe. So this was very, very early on in life where you did not feel like you could express yourself. Perhaps you were such a deep feeler or rebellious with your Mars in your 12th house in Aries, that can be rebellious, and that got shut down. Okay, so some blocked energy here. So just a gentle rubbing of that toe to just release that energy, and then coming up, and then again inviting this toe to track more straight through that little manual manipulation, and just gently bending this toe, and saying things like, in an affirmation, I am grounded and I know. I trust myself. I choose to take a step forward. I've given this enough thought. It's time to take action. Those would be some really powerful affirmations as you invite this overthinking communication tone. This is especially true when it has to do with action that you're taking on the outside, meaning that will impact others, that require other people's resources. And resources are time, money, energy, anything like that. You tend to really, really overthink that. So this is your message to stop overthinking. Gosh, I love how everything just lines up. We've got your chart here with your Mercury and Gemini. We've got your toes showing us that this is a pattern. And then we have the card. So consider this a message from the universe that it's time to stop that. I know you're aware of it. And now it's time to stop. And you have the wind at your back to do this. You also see on this toe how it comes over and is almost like covering up. Like if this toe continued, it would really shrink down this action toe. You are a person of action. You got this pointy little action toe here on both sides. And don't worry, I'm going to get back over to here. So you want to take action, but sometimes you stop yourself from taking the action. And so it is vital that you walk your walk and talk your talk. You've got this high connection point here from the foot for these two toes. Absolutely vital that those two things be aligned. The way you act and take action and what you are communicating, non-negotiable there. So on this action toe, there is a little bit of fear, the smallness here of this connection point. So just that little bit of fear. You are extremely adaptable, all right? You can be very adaptable, and that is such a gift and a blessing. Until it's not, right? Like anything that there's a lot of. So when would it not? It would look like being so adaptable that you learn to function highly in a situation that is dysfunctional, but you don't realize that it's dysfunctional because you're so good at adapting to it. So especially with all that water energy of the Cancer sun and moon, just really yes, just really taking action. Were you ever like when you were a child, did your parents tell you to hurry up a lot? Did you feel like a lot of times you were just a little behind? Just realize that you have in our Essence Work Together, we're going to talk about Essence Tempo. But just take a minute right now in this reading. Your Essence Tempo is the pace at which, or the tempo at which you move through life. And so just for ease, think about very slow to very fast. And it's like a gauge, like a speedometer, if you will. And if it goes from 0 to 100 kilometers, take a deep breath. And where is your essence tempo? Where does that speedometer show up? And I want to talk about this when we chat. Because you naturally have an essence pace that may be a little bit slower, and that is not appreciated by the culture, the hustle culture that we live in. We have discussed that just a little bit too, the getting out of the hustle culture. And this is definitely true. Right now, as you know, Pluto just entered into Aquarius and is sitting at 0 degrees Aquarius. So it is setting off a generational trine to us Gen Xers, okay? This is a big orb where you've got 6 degrees Pluto here, but this is more and more those of us that are in Gen X that are saying no to hustle culture, just realizing that hustle culture doesn't work. And that's going to work really well for you because you do take things just a little slower, just a little bit more cautiously. And there's a big difference between going at your essence tempo and being cautious, wisely cautious, versus overthinking. So understanding where that balance is. Okay, but you are definitely an action taker. When you decide, when you make a decision, you will take action on it. And that's fantastic. So I guess really the message that we're coming up with from this is let's take action sooner. And that doesn't mean faster. That just means sooner. All right. We're going to move over to these toes here. Again, some blocked energy here in the communication and expression toe. And this one has more of this, where this one comes up and then goes over. This one has this little curve to it. So this is generational. This is past lives. This is this feeling unsafe to fully express. So all that Cancer energy with your sun and moon in Cancer, like that's very soft, that's very sweet, that's very, emotionally intelligent language. And then you've got your Mercury there in Gemini. So your brain is like going really, really fast. You're usually mentally like 20 steps ahead of everybody else in the room. And does this cause you some frustration? Have you been, maybe called out for being slow in your action taking, but then jumping ahead faster than people can keep track of? So that would be what this is. And how do you feel about yourself with that? Do you criticize yourself for that? Do you feel that there's a dissonance? I also feel like this split energy here on this life path toe is this has to do with this as well. So really just being aware of the communication with self and working on some of those patterns of change in those, which can be done through affirmations and the other work that you and I both do and we're familiar with. And then inviting this toe. So again, we want to open up this channel of intuition by pushing this way, physically and energetically, opening that up in your spirit path. And then this way, inviting this communication toe to track more straightly so you can be more direct in your communication with self. And so that what's coming in through that Gemini Mercury can be released vocally in a way that feels good to you and to your listeners. So still using all of that emotional intelligence, intuitive intelligence that you have, and allowing your brain to just move fast, your mouth to move fast. Stop overthinking what you're saying. And then your action toe. This is high flexibility. So a question for you here is, where am I living in dysfunction and I haven't been aware of it until now? What aspects are not functional? And maybe you haven't been aware of it so that you can take action on it. So again, you are an absolute action taker and you are rebellious. So this is not something that's always appreciated. So just taking that action without overthinking. That just keeps on being the message. Forgive all the repetitiveness, but that is just the message that keeps on coming through. Let's talk about your relationship toes. So if we look for context, the difference between your relationship toes. Your relationship toe on your left side with self is very straight. You've got this beautiful, like straight on nail, very little blocked energy. There is some, but generally speaking, there's not a lot of blocked energy in this toe. I would massage just a little bit right here, just to move a little bit of that energy out. So you believe in yourself. You are confident in yourself. When it comes to other people, you question yourself. You overthink things. Do you ever get on the hamster wheel after you've talked to somebody and think, oh, I wish I would have said this, or I could have said this better, or anything like that? This is some of this blocked energy. If you don't do it now, you have done it in the past and it is still stuck energetically in your body. So paying attention to this toe and just really rubbing this toe with the intent of releasing the energy. And when we rub our toes, I always like to think of then just allowing the energy to sink down into the earth, because the great earth mother renews it all. So rubbing these toes so that your relationship with others can improve. This is especially important as you're going to be moving soon. And so, making friends in the big new city, getting involved in community there. If you massage this toe and release this energy, you're going to find that pathway opens up for you. in such an almost magical way. Let's look at Venus over here. Venus is the ruler of that toe. Venus here at the bottom of the chart in the 5th house, in the sign of Leo. So you are such a romantic. That romantic connection is so important for you. And so it's almost like that rom-com kind of magic connection. So communicating this with your partner, which has to do with these outside relationships, the bringing you a gift or the flowers or the romantic dinner or the fun time, the creativity together, the surprises, and maybe even a little bit of drama. So Venus in Leo is very, very much about creativity, fun, kind of that rom-com energy. And how can this show up even with yourself? How can you have this creative love and joy with your relationship with yourself? All right, let's move on to the prosperity and trust toes. So again, I see trust in yourself. And how are you when it comes to trusting others? This is something that I'd like to talk about in our call, is trusting others. Trusting others is a little bit like there's obviously a balance. The lifetime cost of not trusting is far higher than the lifetime cost of trusting. And we know that there are people that are not trustworthy in this world. So just being aware of that, but not overthinking that. And what walls or barriers do you have that you hope are keeping you safe, but in fact are keeping you from connecting? And here's the question that's coming to me. And this is actually a question that I've had for a while. And that is, when you and I first connected, very first, in that Facebook group, what was your initial intuitive hit about me? And let's talk about this when we speak, because I want to tie that in to these two toes particularly, but really the whole foot particularly. Let's talk about that when we talk. What was your intuitive hit when we first met? And how does that play out? So not just with me, that's just a relationship that we can talk about. How does this play out in other relationships, in your trust with them? You do have some blocked energy in here. Everybody's been betrayed, as you well know. So just rubbing that toe just a little bit to release that blocked energy. Generally speaking, this toe is fantastic as far as balance, trust in the outside world. This little protrusion from your foot here, and if you look for context, you've got a much bigger protrusion here than you do here. This is about global impact. You are here for global impact in the outside world. And I find this to be fascinating because in your chart, this is most of the action takes place over here. This is you, and over on this side, this is everyone else. So the internal work that you do is how you make your impact on everyone else. This up here, these are things that happen to you and that from which you respond that help build who you are inside. And this is the internal work. So much internal work in your chart. And then that's what's going to make the impact in the outside world. Your love and connection for people, the way that you transform, the way that you awaken, and the way that you spiritually connect with people. These are all predicated on the internal work you do for yourself, internally motivated, and that you are compelled to do because of things happening outside. Trust yourself, okay? You can see that you've got a little bit more blocked energy going on here. Trust yourself. All right, let's move over to the chart here. There's a couple of other things that I do want to discuss on this. The good news is you are going to attract to you, and I know that this is important for your business, people who desire transformation. So that's just automatically going to come to you. That's your descendant over here in Scorpio. You've got Jupiter up here. Jupiter in your 12th house. That's an angel on your shoulder. Okay. Jupiter in the 12th house is an angel on your shoulder for this whole lifetime. So this is a deep protection. This is serendipitous events. And so just what a blessing to have Jupiter in the 12th house as the angel on your shoulder. You have 2 house cusps, your 9th and your 10th house cusp going into Capricorn. So I'm so glad that you are an entrepreneur. If you weren't an entrepreneur, I would say it's time to be an entrepreneur. That is your destiny, entrepreneurship. And then your North Node here, this is also your destiny at 0 degrees Sagittarius, just about to move into Scorpio. And 0 degrees Sagittarius, this is about exploration, stretching into deeper philosophy and higher learning. And you're going to find this mostly through your spiritual connection with others and through collaboration. Okay, so that's the message from this North Node here. Mars in the 12th house is a very rebellious energy. We talked about that just a little bit. Embrace that. Really, really embrace that. All right, what I'm going to invite you to do is listen to this, take notes, and when we meet, I will answer all of your questions. And I'm so excited for you, for this spiritual evolution that you are doing for yourself and for others. And it's been such an honor to do this first part of our essence work together in this Astro Toe reading.